Well, welcome. We have just heard from Mr. John Zangeli, who explained to us how to boost our online presence. Well, now we have another guest speaker with us today, which is Mr. Victor Biggs. Mr. Victor Biggs has 15 years plus as an executive and successes in business development. In the public and private sector has been a testament to his passion and legacy. He was fortunate to work alongside some of the top philanthropists and learn about the importance of real estate and creating wealth. Victor's experience in real estate and business development started in New York City and later funding housing projects around the world, as well as an executive director for the 65 multi-million dollar American Veterans Life Memorial Foundation, interacted as the national monument for disabled veterans in our nation's capital. So without further ado, I'd like to present to you Mr. Victor Biggs.
Hey, Johnny, Mr. Douglas, how are you?
How
Thank
are
you so much for having me on today. It's really a pleasure to be on today. I would like to go ahead and maybe start sharing my screen if I could. While I'm sharing my screen, I would just want to thank the city of Miramar for the amazing support that you're giving to the business community. And so as I share my screen today, let's see if we can get that started. Okay, here we go. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Victor Biggs. Certainly, before we get started today, I want to discuss our topic. It's going to be how to connect. Connection is really the key for our discussion today. And so in order for us to start connecting, let's connect. You can't hear me. I can hear you, or you can hear me, but I can't hear you. So I'm going to do a tongue twister to you first for us to kind of break the ice. Let's try to do a Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Let's see how fast you can say that as you're listening to me today. Okay, let's do it. I obviously can't hear you, but you're probably in a room with others or you're by yourself. Let's give it a try. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Say it really, really fast. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, and as fast as you can. So I don't know if you can maybe in the chat box tell me just how you're doing with it, how many of you got it. And here's a way to do it. Begin with the end in mind. One of the ways I learned to say that is to begin with the end in mind, which is pickled peppers. If you start with pickled peppers, then you can go backwards. So you start with peppers, you go with pickled, and then you go with peck, and then Peter Piper picked. So you think about pickled peppers. Say that, pickled peppers. And then you can say, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. So today we're going to be talking about one, maybe begin with the end in mind is going to be an important part of how you connect with your, with how to improve your connection. So with that being said, let me just move forward just a little bit. My name is Victor Biggs. I'm Vice President for Development, work primarily in commercial real estate, sales and leasing at exclusivelyre.com. That's the name of our company. I partner with my wife, Bridget. And so today we're going to talk about practical ways to stay connected. And I want to also kind of transition this because many of you on the line are business owners or entrepreneurs. And certainly I want to make it also a profitable way for you to stay connected. As I try to figure out what's the best way to share this, I figured it's really, really important that you not just have practical ways to connect, but also profitable ways to connect as well. So my presentation today is going to be dealing with profitable ways in a practical way for you to connect with your audience. And in the way of making it profitable, here's what's going to happen. You'll have simple, no-cost strategies that at the end of my presentation today, my goal is that you can immediately increase your sales and your profits by $100,000, and we will be able to do that within 45 minutes. Ready to get started? Absolutely. As we think about getting started, one of the things that I want to share, you probably saw over the weekend a very, very important milestone in space. Richard Branson, I had the privilege of meeting Richard Branson about 20-something years ago in New York City. We was involved with a family business, and meeting Richard Branson, the family business at the time was in the recording industry, and the family I was involved with at the time, they were in the recording business. And I met Richard Branson. He was a millionaire back then. He hasn't changed much. I met him, he was wearing jeans and a t-shirt. And I had no idea that this guy, Richard Branson, would eventually become a billionaire, a world shaker, and a history maker. And here's what I had in mind as I watched on Sunday when Richard Branson, of course, went into space with Virgin Galactica and his team. There were several takeaways, but one in particular that really, really impressed me was the fact that he took notes, that he mentioned that he took notes. But here's one of the things that why he said he took notes that's going to be very relevant to our discussion today. Richard Branson said that he took notes, but he also went into space because he wanted to get and feel and experience what his customers would. And he took notes pretty much so that he can actually improve and enhance the product and service that he was delivering. And so with that being said, I want to get into again, practical ways to stay connected. That lesson from Richard is pretty much sharing how important it is to try to get and understand your customer as best as you possibly can, and be a disciple that is committed to understanding who your customer is and how to connect and with your customer. So again, the strategies I'll share with you today is certainly going to help you. I guarantee if you really implement these, you can actually find ways to make $100,000 more from your business without spending a dime. So let's get started. If you think about your day on a daily basis, you've probably heard about the 80-20 rule, which pretty simply means 80% of your productivity comes from 20% of your activities. And I say that to say, for example, think about the things you're doing on a daily basis, and from start to finish, whatever results you're getting right now, I guarantee is because of your daily activities. So just keep in mind that 80% of the results you're getting and the success you're getting is really based on 20% of how you connect every day with your customers and with those that actually can move your business and your goals forward. So you're only doing a few things daily that I believe that makes you the most money for your business. So I want to share with you the 5 areas from a business perspective that if you focus on these 5 areas, they pretty much can make up the 5 key areas that make up your 20% of what generates 80% of your revenues. If you focus on these 5 things, you will realize that I guarantee you will generate quickly, and you will think at the end, you'll think about ways at the end of my presentation today that you can actually triple your leads, double your sales, and double your bottom line. And so here we go. These are the 5 areas that if you think about them, you will actually generate more dollars. If you think about these ways, how to connect with your audience, you will definitely advance your business. So here are the 5 areas. 1, more leads. If you can figure out ways to generate more leads for your business on a day-to-day basis, more conversions, more transactions, if you can focus on more revenues and more profits. Again, if you focus on these 5 areas and your activities every day, focus on these 5 areas on more leads, more conversions, more transactions, more revenues, and more profits, you will actually triple your business. You'll double your bottom line, guaranteed. And these small incremental changes that I'll talk about today will produce big results for you and for your business. So let's continue. Let me give you an example. I'm going to use what I call the profit growth calculator that was developed by an organization of successful coaches in America. If you can see my screen, for example, if you are generating 1,000 leads per year, and say you're converting 25% of those leads, that means 1,000 leads, you're generating and converting 25% of those. That means you're now getting 250 customers. From those 250 customers that you're getting from your marketing activities, if you just have 10 transactions per year from each of those individuals, and each of those transactions is worth $100, you should be generating for your business revenues of $250,000 per year. Now, you obviously have expenses, and if your expenses are, say, 75%, that means your margins are 25%. So if your gross margin is 25%, so you're pretty much making a gross profit of $62,000 from that. So let's think about now, if you were to have more leads, more conversions, more transactions, higher prices, and more profits in those 5 areas, you will be amazed as to, if you're connecting with your customers, how that's going to incrementally and exponentially help your business. So let's get to it. So again, if you increase your leads by 10%, you now will have a baseline of 1,100 leads per year. And instead of 25% conversions, say you improve that by 10%, so that you now have 27.5%. That means from your leads and your sales of 250 people, increase that by 10%, you now have 303 sales per year. Now, before you had 10 transactions per year, you now have 10% more, which is 11. Now, you're pretty much generating a transaction of $100 each time the customer buys from you. Increase that by 10%, you're looking at $110 just from a 10% increase. So therefore, your revenue now goes up to $368,000 per year. And if you increase your gross margin by 10% as well, become more efficient by 10%, you're looking at 27.7, 27.5 gross margins. That means your profit now goes to $100,000. Now, you can probably see just how a 10% increase can bring you from 62,000 to a 100,000 per year. Now, let's think, for example, what if you were to increase that by 50%, right? Generate more leads, you have better ways to connect with your audience, and you then increase that by, say, 50%, hypothetically 50%. Let's go to it. Okay, so if you go to 50%, disregard the columns on top. I changed the format in my PowerPoint, so just follow me for a moment. That 1,500 represents a 50% increase. Although the columns say stand, it really is a 50% increase. So you're now going from 1,000 to 50% more. You're now generating and finding a way to generate 1,500 leads per year. And instead of converting 25%, you now find a way to increase it by 50% more. So you're looking at converting by 50% more. You're now converting 37.5% of the people that you're connecting with. Okay, now from that, right, you're looking at transactions that you once had at 10%. Let's increase that by 50%, right? Now, again, your sales have gone up from 250 to 563, although if you look at the numbers again, going back to, you increase your leads by 50% from 1,000 to 1,500. You increase your conversions by 50%, which means you went from 25% conversion to 37.5% conversion. Your sales now increase, not actually 50%, it almost doubles to 563. Now, let's now look at your transactions. And before, if your customers were pretty much buying from you 10 times per year, if you find a way to increase how frequently they buy from you by 50%, you then go to 15 activities per year with that customer, and say you try to find a way to generate more revenues each time, and say you're going 50% more, from $100 you go to $150. Look at the revenues that you will now have from just a 50% increase in your focus, in your 20% focus each day. That goes from $250,000 to $1.2 million per year in your revenues. Again, if you become more efficient in your gross margins, And instead of a 25% profitable gross margins, you become more efficient, and you go to a 37.5, which is 50% more efficiency. Your bottom line goes from 62,000 per year to 474,000. Now, for some of you there and that you have a small business and you're pretty much doing 62,000 per year in your bottom line, how would you like to move from 62,000 to 474? In our business, we actually double our revenues in the past year. So what we're saying to you is not just something that I'm saying academically, we've actually experienced that in our business as well. So let's look at those things that I believe that if you implement these things, you would definitely be able to be on your way to generating more revenues. And at the end of this presentation today, how would you like to find $100,000 new revenues in your business without spending an additional dime? I certainly would, and you will be able to do that as well. Let's get to it. So that's a 760% increase in your profitability by using the things that I'm about to show you now as far as connecting with your customers profitably. So let's get to it. So I'm going to show you of the 5 areas. I'm going to focus on 3 because time only permits me to share 3. So I'm sharing 3 breakthrough strategies being used by some of the world's top business coaches. And as a certified professional coach, I've used these as well in helping clients increase their revenues. I've actually worked with a client before. I was hired to bring their revenues from 6 to 8 million. We actually not just went from 6 to 8 million per year, we went to $14 million per year. And I pretty much use these principles that I'm about to share with you as well. So the 3-step formula that I'm going to share with you today will show you how to triple your leads, how to convert more, and how to generate more transactions. So 1, how to get more leads, how to convert more leads, and last but not least, how to get more transactions. And these 3 areas, you will definitely have ways to generate an extra $100,000. That's okay. So let's go to step 1. How do you get more leads, right? How do you triple the amount of leads that you're getting for your business right now, right? So if you're taking notes today, I would want to share with you that I would write this down if I were you. The fundamentals of connecting with your market or speaking to your customers in a profitable way is the following. Have something good to say about your business, which is your market dominating position. The second thing is say it well. You have to have a compelling marketing, right? So have something good to say it well, and say it as often as you can. Repetition. Here's an example. This was a case study that I want to share with you. This ad was to help a cosmetic surgeon to generate more revenues for his cosmetic surgery, right? And his ad pretty much was nurture the body that provoked true envy. Now, if you see this ad, I want to ask you a quick question. What do you see wrong with this ad? You are a cosmetic surgeon, or a cosmetic surgeon hires you to give them advice as to how to increase their revenues. You're giving them advice. What do you see wrong with this particular ad? Here's what's wrong with the ad, right? The ad is not getting and understanding what the prospect needs, the prospect that you're marketing to needs. It's really, really important for you to learn to connect. And the best way to connect with your audience is to enter the conversation taking place in the head of your prospect. Think about your business. Think about Richard Branson being in space, taking notes. He's up there in space and he's writing notes. Why? He wants to experience what his audience, his customers will experience. He wants to get inside their head and try to figure out what experiences they will have and how can he proactively provide a solution for those experiences that they desire. So the first thing to do is whatever product or service you have, enter into the head of that prospect as to what is it that they need. In this particular case, right? In this particular case, You have a young person that's in the ad. Well, the cosmetic surgeon specializes in mommy makeovers, right? He was generating 35 leads from this ad, and he was paying $6,000 per month for Facebook pay-per-click. The formula for generating more leads, according to Dan Kennedy, and if you're in marketing, you'll know Dan Kennedy is the guru for marketing, is three things. And I'd say write these three things down for your business, how to connect with your audience. One is you need to know your market. You need to know what your message is. And last but not least, you have to have the right media. So in this particular case, who do you think the market is for cosmetic surgery? Not a young person like it's in this ad. It's the mother who's probably 30 to 45 years old, who's had 2 or more kids. And that's the market, right? The next thing would be certainly the message. She wants to have the body that she had before she had kids. And so if you can think about that for a second, you get inside the head of your prospect. In this case, the prospect is a market for a mother with 2 or more kids. She wants the body she had before she had kids. And so with that in mind, you find the media: Facebook, pay-per-click, direct mail, radio, TV, whatever you choose as your ideal media. Here's what happens after focusing on the right media, the right market, and the right message. It generated results that, going from 35, it now generated 300 to 500 leads per month. That's over 10 times the amount. Remember before we talked about a 10% increase? Here we're talking about an exponential increase in leads per month. As a result, this was a 1,000% increase in leads. Okay, so that's step number one. Ways to generate more leads is to understand your market, understand your message, and understand the media. You have to learn to get inside the head of your audience. And I want to share something that is not on my slides that's really, really important if you can think about it. It's what I call, the old McDonald thing, E-I-E-I-O. Well, it's really I, right? It's something that I remembered. It's called the I, right? The E, and the E, and the O. And the I would be, think about watching a television show. If you're watching a television show, what do you typically do when there's a commercial? Well, for me, I really take the time to take a break, go to the refrigerator, get a snack, get some ice cream, or whatever the case may be. I take a break. Now, what happens when you have a commercial like a Geico commercial, right? You typically watch that commercial because here's what they do. They do the I, which is called interrupt. The interrupt simply means they try to get your attention. So I say the I, think about the I in your business. When you're connecting with your audience, you have to have, the first thing is the I. The I would be your interrupt. And so when you're doing an interrupt, just like this ad, the most important thing to remember is you have to find a way to interrupt your audience. And that becomes the headline. And I'll talk about that later. And the E that I want to mention as well in your IEEO is going to be your engage. The second part in your engage is simply after you've interrupted the audience, you then have to find a way to engage the audience. And here's how that's going to come in handy later. So keep those two in mind, and I'll get back to that in a moment as we get into step number 2. And I'll talk about E and O later. So step number 2 is the formula as to how to convert more leads into sales. So now you have these people that are connecting with you. You have these leads that you generated. How do you then get them to become, more of them to become customers? The first thing I'd say is one of the important reasons why we lose revenues in business is because people tend to ask us for lower prices. You ever had someone ask in your business, can you give me a discount? Or can you offer it for less? I'd say don't offer it for less, but here's what you can do to generate more revenues. You can downsell. You can offer your prospect an alternative at a lower price when they decline your original offer. Okay, for example, you go to a restaurant, you notice that you go to lunch, and instead of buying the dinner meal, you'd love to get that for less. So instead of losing you as a customer, a lot of restaurants, they offer you a lunch special. So they're giving you a smaller portion, but they're still generating revenues. And so in your business, you can actually offer, instead of offering them 100 quantities of what you want for $100, and they want a discount, say, yeah, I can give you a discount. So what you do is you reduce the quantity that you provide, and you can still operate at the same gross margin, and you're offering your customers a service, a product, and you're also generating revenues. And they're not walking out of your store or your shop without a sale. You really want to make sure that each time they come into your shop or into your presence or are introduced to your product or service, that you give yourself an opportunity for them to try or use your product. So that's the first thing in converting more. The second part is what do you call a drip campaign? On an average, please know that 1% of your prospects are now buyers, which means that if they go to your website or if you meet with them right now, most of the people that you meet right now are ready to buy. Only 1% are ready to buy. 99% are not. So here's what we do typically in business. We try to convert everyone right away. And that's not really a good business practice, because you come across as being very, very desperate. You have to think like a farmer. You plant your seeds now, and somewhere in the future, you will generate a harvest. And I think the best example for that is sometimes we guys buy flowers for our wives or our girlfriends, or you folks, for your significant other, you buy a gift. One thing I've learned pretty much is we guys will buy a bouquet once every so often, special occasions. I was told, instead of buying a bouquet now and then 6 months later another bouquet, maybe buying a rose now, one rose every week, is maybe more impactful than 2 dozen roses now and nothing for another 2 months. So again, that's like a drip campaign. Instead of giving everything right now, try to find a way to stay in touch and add value little by little by little by little. For example, you ever had a customer that you connect with, and then 6 months, 9 months later, you see them and they bought the service you offered, but they bought it from a competitor or from someone else. Why? Because they were not ready to buy right away. And so you may plant the seed, but because you were not in touch with them, you lost the sale and that opportunity to someone else. And so with the drip campaign, what you're actually doing is understanding that most buyers, right, think about it, they would probably need your service in about 3, 6 months, or maybe a year from now. But if you're staying in touch with them, you certainly will be able to plan your revenues 6 months from now, 3 months from now, a year from now, whereas you will not lose those revenues will be yours. Remember before I talked about the IEEO? Well, that would be the second E, which should be, and the third E. The first one I said is to, one, interrupt. You have to really get inside their head and figure out what they're thinking. The second one certainly would be to engage them. Engage them simply is, the first interrupt is they have a problem that they don't want. That's the interrupt, right? Always think about the problem that they have that they don't want. And your engage is the solutions and the results they desire that only you can provide, right? And so when you're doing your marketing should always be, your interrupt would be, one, getting inside their head, talk about the problem that they have that they don't want, and your engage, which the second one is the solution that you provide, which simply is, right, the solution and the results that you can provide for that item. So your advertising, your marketing should always be, your interrupt is the problem that they have, your engage should always be the solution, your subheadline, the solution you provide. Now, the third E is educate. Education is really important because most buyers are not ready to buy right now. So in your drip campaign, what you're doing pretty much is you realize that over the next couple months, you want to have a relationship. You want to give them one flower every week or something every month that reminds them that you're there when they are ready to make a decision that you're there for them. So if you continue to nurture that prospect and staying in touch with them on an ongoing basis, this will help you as well to convert more. So let's give you some practical secrets. The secret to converting more leads is to create a compelling offer. One, in this situation here, this surgeon, all he did pretty much was offer his phone number. He showed the prospect, which is a young person. That person does not need a service. You then get inside the head of the audience, which is the mom who wants to have that younger body. And so you change that, you get inside their head, and here's the headline. I want the body I had before I had kids, right? And that's the headline. The sub-headline is so the headline is going to be the problem that they have that they don't want, right? And which is she wants the body that I had before I had kids. And the sub-headline is the engage, which is the solution is it's time to get rid of that problem area on your hips, thighs, and tummy. And that's the results. And your headline, again, for your business should be what they need. Your sub-headline is the service that you provide. And as a result of that, you see that free opening report. That's where you engage them. And that's where you provide education. One, you give them an opportunity to capture their information so you can continue to speak with them over time. So you capture their information and then you begin to educate. Don't sell, just educate, build a relationship. So in this case, if you remember at first they were generating 5 leads, right? In this case, he offered a free offer, candid results and answers about mom makeover. And over time, he kept providing this person with information. Over time, the results was the ad was generating 300 to 500 prospects per month, which increased from the 35. And his conversion was 67%. That was generating now 268 leads for him. With his 8% conversion, giving him 32 new patients, that was approximately 600,000 more in monthly revenues, not annual, monthly revenues. So again, that's your step number 2. Step number 3, as far as more transactions, how do you generate more transactions for your business? How do you connect with your audience more so that you can profitably generate more transactions for your business? One, let's get to it. So if you're writing notes, increasing transactions with your prospect involves getting them to buy from you more frequently than they do now. How do you do that? Upselling, cross-selling, those are the fastest and the least expensive ways to generate more revenues without spending an additional dime. Have you ever driven to McDonald's and you order whatever you order? They always ask you, what? Would you like to supersize that? Well, yeah, sure. For pennies on the dollar, you're going to supersize your fries. You're going to supersize your drink. Really shouldn't, because that's going to put on an extra pound and a half that we just, in our New Year's resolution, promised that we're going to get rid of. But the point is, when they do the upsell, it's not costing them much at all, but it's generating a 10% more in revenues. It's generating maybe a 20% more in revenues. And then they may ask you, as far as cross-selling is, after you've upside, would you like some apple pie with that? Would you like some ice cream with that? That's your cross-selling. Those products are on your shelf. Always find ways to do upsell. Always find ways to do cross-sell in whatever you're doing. Connect with your customers. If you know what your customers need, and like Richard Branson in his notes that he was taking, experiencing and understanding what's in the head of his customers, you will pretty much know that you're not selling, you really understand who your customer is, and you're actually providing them with value by upselling, by cross-selling. So I say offer more products and services to your clients are ways for you to generate more revenues. So upsell, cross-sell. Upselling means you're offering a higher grade or quality or size of an item that your customer may be interested in, or they may have already decided to purchase at that point. And so it's very, very easy to upsell. Cross-selling, again, means offering other products and services that you have. And for example, you may have other products and services that's not selling. Well, offer it to them at 50% more. They realize that they're getting something that you may be selling for a value, but you're giving them a discount, but you're selling that item and you're getting it off your shelf, and you're generating more revenues, and you're reducing your inventory, which is better for you. You can replace that inventory with higher producing revenue products. So upsell and cross-sell is the third area of ways to generate more transactions for your business in practical ways and profitable ways to stay connected with your audience. So 34% of prospects will buy additional products from you. Believe it or not, they will at the time that they're making the purchase. So the three-step formula for you to increase and add $100,000 right away to your business is, one, to get more leads. You can triple your leads by what I've shared with you today. You can convert more of those people and those leads that you get. And last but not least, you can generate more transactions as well if you follow what I've shared with you earlier. So with following those formulas, you can see with just small increases in how you connect with your audience, you can uncover at least 100,000 more revenues for your business. And that way you can invest in real estate for your legacy. I don't know if there are any questions, Mr. Douglas, that people may want to ask. I'm here to answer any questions. Any questions, anyone? I'm not sure if we're still connected.
I think we're good for now. We can continue.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Douglas, that was a presentation.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it. There was one question that came up. One question that was, how do you keep in touch with the drip campaign? How does that normally work, especially when you talk about businesses and restaurants and maybe barbershops?
That's a really good question to ask. There's some marketing folks that is coming up later. I would say get yourself a good marketing person. And it's really, really important. I feel the 3 ways to connect with your audience. I call them the 3 C's. The 3 C's that you should always keep in mind. The first one is to connect. To connect, there's simple ways. It's really important that you call your customers, find ways to send cards out, or find ways to just either a phone call or let them know that you're still in business. The second one is caring. Caring for your customers. The second C is, one, try to get your customers' birthdays, try to get their anniversaries, try to see when they first ordered a product from you, try to figure out the anniversary for their business, try to see when they're doing something special for their business. And one, show that you care. Visit their business, patronize that business, and that's the second way. That's the personal, inexpensive way to drip, have a drip campaign. Last but not least, community. Find out how you can help those individuals grow their business or grow their, whatever is important to them. Connect them to a community. Whatever the business they're in, there has to be, find some ways for them to network with others. If they're in family events, find some way for them to connect their families to other events. Or their kids, find some way for their kids to connect. If they're in a certain kind of club or some kind of activities, or try to find others that have similar interests and help them make connections. So those are ways, in personal ways, to do it. From a marketing perspective, I'd say find yourself a good marketing person. And I believe there's some good digital marketing individuals that are on, and have them design a campaign for you that can do that in very inexpensive ways.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you being here with us. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you.
Likewise, Mr. Douglas, thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're welcome. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of the expo, okay?
Thanks again. It's really great. Thanks for all you're doing in the city of Miramar. Thanks to the mayor, the commissioners, and the city leaders, and including yourself and your team. You guys are doing an amazing job to the community.
Also, for our listening audience, you are available to visit our booths. There are many, many businesses in our booths that are waiting to entertain you and to let you know more about what they do and the services and products that they offer. So please do not hesitate at any time to go and visit those booths. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks again. Have a good day, everyone.